Welcome to iAccessVO with Brian Fischler and Ed Plumacher. Making it happen with VoiceOver accessibility. And now, here's Brian and Ed.
Welcome back to yet another episode of iAccessVO. And Ed, I know you're the positive one of the bunch, but I'm going to start off this show with something that's pissing me off. What's so funny there?
Get right to it, Brian. Get right to it. There you go.
Should I welcome you in first?
No, I'm just teasing.
Yeah. So now, okay, Google. I was playing around with it before the show, and so I fire the app up because I got a replacement iPhone, which we'll get into, and I say, "Okay, Google," and I keep hearing cancel. I say, "Okay, Google, what will the weather be tomorrow?" And it keeps saying, "Cancel. What will be the weather tomorrow?" Okay, Google, Sandra Bullock, because I'm obsessed with her. Cancel Sandra Bullock. So Sandra Bullock has been canceled. What's going on with OK Google?
I think OK Google wants to cancel out Brian Fischler.
It did not. Hey, you're not supposed to use my last name on the podcast. I'm in the witness protection program, remember? I don't know what's going on with OK Google. I wanted to put that question out there to the listeners. Are you having any success using OK Google? Because when it says cancel and whatever I say, I get no results. So,
well, I have to, for full disclosure, I have to say I've used OK Google in the past. I have not used it in the past few months. So who knows if they came out with another update and something got messed up? I'm not sure. So you know what? Let's ask our listeners. Anybody using OK Google? Having problems with it on your iOS device? Let us know.
Yeah. Now, one thing that is not pissing me off that made me very excited was RS Games, which I actually had not used for years, came to iOS devices.
Yeah, you were telling me about this. Well, because not only that, but I guess that they also merged with Marty Schultz as well, didn't they?
I wouldn't call it a merger per se, but maybe they partnered on this project because it is called Blindfold RS Games. And for those of you not familiar with RS Games is a client that you can play on the Mac or PC. You log, I guess, into their servers. They have, I believe it's 19 games. They have Monopoly. You could play against bots, or you could play against other individuals who are logged into the server. And it's, I don't know why. I just stopped playing it for years. But, I saw that they came to iOS device, and this is one thing that does annoy me. I kept reading, on the email lists, well, why would I want to pay for this? And, I don't know what it is. I know, fortunately for us, there are a lot of services when you're blind that you do get for free. But the people that make these things, they got to make a living. They got to eat, I just don't get it. I'm missing it somewhere. Why certain blind people think that they should be getting everything for free.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's a large part of the community, but there is a portion of the community that wants things for free all the time, and I do know that, and I think we're all aware of that. But you're exactly right. If you want to have things progress, you want to have things developed. People have to pay for their overhead. They've got to pay for programmers. They've got to pay for distribution. There's marketing. There's all kinds of things that go into developing software, developing technology, and marketing technology. And, bottom line is someone's got to foot the bill.
Yeah, and maybe it's just the segment of the blind population that lives in communist countries that was asking this question. So, maybe they're used to getting everything for free. But, it's just a question that bewilders me. It makes me scratch my head. And, for those of you out there that are interested in RS Games, they got a great model. I like being mobile and being able to lay in my bed or lay on my couch and play the games. They give you 7 free days, I believe, of each game. so you could try the games and see which ones you like. And then you could either buy all the games. They're $2.99 or $3.99, which is quite affordable. Monopoly is the most expensive one at $5.99. Or you could buy the entire suite package, which I did for $37.99, which, is an expensive app, but I got 19 games for that, and I think it's great. I compliments to Marty as well as the people over there at RS Games. This was very exciting. The 1.0 version works great, and I've been having a lot of fun with it, which is why I jumped in and bought it.
Right, and I think that's the only one that we've heard of that actually has the name brand Monopoly for an accessible game, isn't it?
Yeah, we've been looking for that for years, and they do actually. You could choose a Monopoly from the American board. They have an England board, and I think they might have a third country's board. So if you do want to play with different countries and everything,
yeah, because I remember when we interviewed Marty, you were asking him when can we have Monopoly?
yeah, I forget. I think he was having some issues with it, but this came out of nowhere. I mean, all of a sudden it was just there one day, and I'll probably, as soon as we're done recording this podcast, go back to my. And that's another great thing if you start playing it, because Monopoly is not a short game. If you stop playing it, you can save right where you are, and I think they did a tremendous job with the app, and it's great to see that Marty keeps moving forward with tons of different games, and this partnership between them and RS Games is something that's exciting. But we got another email from the Pilgrim, Ed.
Yes, our buddy the Pilgrim from the UK.
And it's funny because it's just hitting me now. He's basically quoting The Who was a very famous band from England, because he wanted to know, who are you?
Yeah, that was it. I mean, it was nice. We got some nice feedback from the Pilgrim. He complimented us on the show, thanked us for telling us we had great guests. But he said, who are you guys? What do? You talk about being trainers, but I don't hear much more.
Well, I've told the guests that I'm in the witness protection program. I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, well, I am a trainer. I do work for the Lighthouse Guild in New York City, and I know you are also a trainer and are an independent vendor contractor. So you've been doing a great job training as well. And we're out there in the blind community helping people use their technology. So we teach people how to use Macs, we teach them how to use PCs, we teach them how to use iOS devices, and it's just great when you work with people and they get that aha moment when they get it, and it's a life changer for them, and that's a very gratifying thing to do.
Yeah, but you're not just a trainer. I mean, I think he wanted to know. I mean, you're much more involved with the community than I am. I don't particularly care for blind people that aren't me, but you're running Italian. You brought Italian blind baseball to New York. You're involved with several different blind organizations. I guess we both do public speaking. I have about 5 jobs. I used to work on Wall Street. I was an executive headhunter when I could see. Gone are those days. I do not miss the people. I do not miss the work, but man, do I miss the money.
Well, I have to say that was one thing, and I've told that to a few people when I did stop working, when I used to work, because I had my own high tech firm and I did a lot of work with television production and professional sports. And when I stopped working, that's one thing I did notice, is that I did miss the income.
yeah, and believe it or not, some people say they enjoy the humor on the podcast. I am also a professional stand-up comedian, as hard as some people find that to believe. Insert joke here, Ed. I got you on the spot. Yeah. So who's the comic now? No, but no.
Well,
so
no, I was listening to the crickets.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hey, I don't get very many critic. I get a lot of critics.
You get a lot of critics, but not a lot of crickets.
Jack Daniels here. Yeah. No, I do. So, but no, I do that, and I do some writing. I write for a few dog publications. But yeah, we both have our other interests. The reason we started this show is Ed and I are both big fans of tech, and it was nice to kind of get an email from the Pilgrim asking, "Who are you?"
Pilgrim, hold it. Well, don't fret about that, Pilgrim. You're a persistent cuss, Pilgrim. Well, take some advice, Pilgrim. Cool off, Pilgrim. Pilgrim.
if you did not want to know more about us, blame the Pilgrim from England, and you could write us in at iAccessVO@gmail.com or tweet us in saying, I did not need to know that about you at iAccessVO over there on the Twitter thingy.
There you go. I tell you what, some other email we got, though, Brian, is last show we did, you requested anybody interested in doing fantasy football for an iAccessVO fantasy league. And I think you almost have enough people to get the league started.
Yeah, we're up to, I think, 6 of us, and that doesn't mean they're all joined, but they seem excited and wanted to mention it again. It was interesting, though, because as we mentioned this on the last show, right after the show we recorded, Yahoo Fantasy came out with version 8.0 of their app, and I'm going in, I tested out, and there were some minor VoiceOver accessibility issues, but for once it dawned on me, I'm kind of curious because they did overhaul the app entirely to see what the sighted community was saying about the app. So I went into the App Store, looked it up, and went to the reviews tab, and oh my. They went from about a 3.5 star rating as the world's greatest fantasy app to a 1.5 star rating. And wow. The comments were not kind, So I had emailed them about the accessibility issues, and they got right back to me. They said they were really annoyed to find out that some accessibility bugs did leak out into that update and everything, which they do plan on fixing fairly quickly. But they kind of got their hands a little full right now because the sighted community went ballistic on Yahoo Fantasy. But we're looking forward to those changes coming, and I expect by the time we start getting football up and running, it'll be happening. But go ahead and email us in. I'm going to give you the email again if you are interested in getting in on our iAccessVO Yahoo Fantasy Football League. It's all completely free. Email us in at iAccessVO@gmail.com, and we'll make sure we'll get you in there on this league. We could probably have up to 12 players if we get that many.
Oh, awesome. That's great stuff. So you mentioned something here I was reading before, and I asked you a question about. It's called The Score. I guess that's a sports app you wanted to mention as well?
Yeah, and not to be confused because I was looking at it earlier today. There's actually another app called The Score, which, Ed, it has to do with video game scores.
Yeah. Oh, is that where if you watch people who play video games, you can also check out their scores?
They now have an app for that. Yes. Yeah. I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. What's wrong with sighted people today? Yeah. But yeah, no, the app, The Score, I know a lot of my friends that are blind and not blind both love to use the app. And I noticed because, it's funny. I know I mentioned on a previous podcast that I had to get this Bluetooth speaker that attached to the phone so I could hear my iPhone over the air conditioning. Well, it finally dawned on me a few weeks ago to fire up my old 5S and realized there might be a problem with the 6S when the 5S was about 5 times louder than the 6S. So it ends up there was a speaker issue with my phone, so Apple so kindly replaced it. And I've been putting all my apps back on my phone, and I happened to notice when I was checking out to make sure I was getting all my notifications that The Score all of a sudden had some accessibility issues with it. Well, the great news is I emailed the app developer, which I had never emailed before. I emailed him last night. He got back to me this morning. He's already looking into getting that app fixed with accessibility. I mean, that's amazing when they get back to you that quickly and they care about improving accessibility.
Yeah, and then also, I want to give kudos to Apple for, you had a phone issue and they just replaced your phone, which I thought was pretty good. You've had that phone almost a year or just about a year now, right? Yeah,
probably 8-10 months. And, it was at first they said, yeah, there's definitely an issue with the speaker grill. It's not user error. So it was nice to know I didn't do something. And they were originally going to replace the part. They were out of the part, so they ended up just swapping it out with a brand new iPhone, which sounds great, compared to what I was living with. The iPhone VoiceOver sounded like it was underneath water before.
Yeah, but I do know you did make a phone call to me with a little bit of frustration as you were trying to get everything loaded up on that new iPhone, because I guess you opted not to do a restore, I guess, from your computer.
Yeah, I had the iPhone hooked up to my computer, just because you want to have full power or close to it, when all your apps are loading onto the phone. And I kept not seeing the screen that says, would you like to restore from an iCloud backup or from your computer, or load this as a new iPhone. And I went through the whole setup. I didn't get that, and all of a sudden I have an iPhone with 2 pages worth of apps that I would never use because they were all the Apple stock apps. And I was like, wait a minute, where are all my apps? So I went through the full restore, and I went through the whole process again, and again, it skipped the process. So I called Apple Accessibility, got them right on the line. I was explaining the issue, and before I could get through explaining, the guy says, let me guess. You're doing this with your iPhone plugged into your computer. I said, yeah. They says, you can't do that anymore. That was kind of shocking. He says, no, it skipped that step.
When you told me that, I'm like, who came up with that bright idea? Because the whole thing, I've always backed up my phone. Not often, but every couple of months I'll plug it in and go to iTunes and just back up the phone,
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you just can't plug it in and do a restore. I mean, that's you can do the restore, but you have to unplug the phone, click that you want to do the restore, then plug it back in. That doesn't make any sense to me.
It's illogical. I mean, it was so bizarre. Now, you can have it plugged in to a wall outlet. You just can't have it plugged into your computer, because when it's plugged into your computer, the screen that asks if you would like to restore from an iCloud backup and so on does not show up.
Right, but I back up my phone to my computer, so I need to plug it into my computer in order to restore it, because I didn't, I don't have it in the cloud, so to speak.
You got to remember, this was not during a backup. This was, just the starting up a new phone method.
Oh, okay.
So I assume it makes no sense and a lot of people, they'll probably do a backup if they're going to restore their phone. The whole thing is so illogical. But I talked to Apple Accessibility, and they knew what the problem was. And as soon as I unplugged it from the computer and we did another reset all settings, I got that screen. So,
well, I do know you ran into an issue that I ran into, because when I got my new SE a couple months ago, I decided not to restore my phone from an older backup. I decided I was just going to leave it as a new phone and just put the apps on there that I want to use, not all 350 apps that I had on my older phone. And the issue with doing that is, all of a sudden I had to remember all my passwords for all my different apps, and I was going a little nutty trying to get all that put together.
Yeah, and funny, because I recall you had an issue with Chase Bank, was it?
Yes.
Mine was with Citibank, and this is something I've spoken before about how I have a method to my madness, how I'll save all my passwords and I'll write little code words so I'll know what my passwords, and I've got them saved in an email mailbox called logins. Well, Citibank was something that I've created before I started this method, which is I've been doing for about 4 years. And the problem is I didn't remember the password because I was so used to logging in these days with Touch ID. So if you're a creature of habit, and if you're using Touch ID to log into a bank account or any apps, make sure you note down somewhere those passwords, because if you get a new iPhone, for some reason, some of my apps logged me in right away. The banking apps did not log me in, and I entered my password. I could not get into the app, and then I had the fun of getting to call Citibank, and boy, even their technology department is stupid.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think it's getting to the point now where it's almost time for a 1Pass subscription. Well,
you do have 1Password, which I've never used.
Yeah,
so have it's that,
and I did notice that one of our previous guests, Allison Hartley, I think she tweeted last week that she had finally made the plunge and was making the effort to activate 1Pass with all her passwords.
Now, I believe it's free on the iPhone. It may be free on the iPhone. At least it used to be. I know the Mac, you do have to pay to get it for the Mac, but I have a pretty good system. Just every now and then, there's an app that I've been using for so long that I don't have the password in my little mailbox. I mean, all my other apps I had no problem getting into, and and as Citibank, the funniest thing was that their technology department asked me, well, would you like to file a complaint and get it to our development team so they might be able to work on this? I said, well, I did that 4 years ago, and obviously they didn't pay attention to it. So either your company, the developers are morons, or they just don't care about accessibility.
Wow, yeah. So you were a busy guy. You ran to New York City. You ran back home. You spent all those hours getting your iPhone configured. You must have worked up an appetite, Brian. What'd you do for dinner?
I ate dinner last night, and thank God that I don't update my apps that often in iTunes, because I used Grubhub, and last night I had to use Grubhub, the new app, which is their most up-to-date one, and the accessibility is just... That's poor for people that don't understand that sound. I mean, Grubhub used to be so great in understanding accessibility, and I'm asking other people out there to reach out to @Grubhub, GRUBHUB. Let them know on Twitter that your app is no longer fully accessible and you have to put heading navigation back in. Because my concern is, well, right now I could roll back to the old app, which I did today. What's going to happen when iOS 10 comes out?
Well, don't fret about that, Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still not going to work.
Hey, well, will I be able to roll back? Because as long as I can roll back, everything's fine. But
right.
If I can't roll back, then that's going to be an issue. And I don't want to spend 3 hours trying to order dinner because I had to flick 600 times to get to the fourth restaurant in the new Grubhub app, where I used to be able to flick 4 times to get to 4 restaurants. Now it's 600 times.
So you actually flick more on Grubhub than you do on Pornhub.
That is true. In fact, I've heard you've been spending a lot of time on Pornhub, though.
No, that is not true.
Well, if you want to, you at least know it's fully accessible. So
yeah, that's true.
But it's funny because I thought we put together an outline here and we kind of work off of it, and we ad lib a little here and there. We throw a few shots at each other. I thought you were getting ready to go into the world's greatest segue, and then you hit me with the Grubhub because you were talking about how I was out and about and running all over the place. And guess what, Ed? That would have been a great segue to talk about our guest, because our guest is all about being out and exploring the world.
That's right. And why don't we go talk to our friend Suman and let him tell us about this great new technology that he's developing for us.
Sounds good. Now we'd like to welcome in a very special guest that is doing some very exciting things for the blind. We're here today with Suman, the CEO of Aira. How you doing today, Suman?
Good, Brian. How are you?
Good. Welcome, Suman. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, likewise, Ed.
Now, you are working on a very exciting project that I just recently learned about called Aira. Tell us a little bit about it, what it exactly is for those people out there that might not be familiar with it.
Sure. Aira is, we call it remote assistive technology for the blind. So basically, the blind user wears a smart glass, such as Google Glass or Pivot Head. And once they activate the glasses, they are connected in real time to a certified agent. Now, our agents, who are real human beings, who is sitting in front of a mission control style dashboard, basically sees whatever the blind user sees from the first person point of view camera that is on right hand side of the smart glasses, which is pretty much located on front of the right eye of the user. Now, besides the real-time video that is coming onto their dashboard, they also have lots of data coming in from the sensors, including the location, along with some geolocation services. So think about this dashboard as something that is augmenting the user and the user surroundings, along with real-time video that is coming from their first-person point of view camera. So some of our tech guys also refer to it as augmented reality for the blind. But in science contextual way, it's called contextual awareness. It's a contextual awareness of the user and the user surroundings.
Yeah, I watched your video, and I got to tell you, it was very, very impressive. when I first started watching it, the thought of OnStar popped in my mind when OnStar came out with General Motors, about a decade ago. But this is like OnStar with live video, where you with a person interacting with you is actually directing you and helping you in a real time environment. I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, Ed, because one of the slides in my pitch deck actually says OnStar for the blind, because that's an easy way to explain what the hell is going on in here. There is client, there is agents, there is dashboard, there is routing, and so forth. I mean, just to mention, the verbal information in assisting a blind from our agents, we actually put very heavy emphasis on, training and the certification of those agents. My classic example, a lot of my friends do joke me about this. I mean, a lot of my blind friends do joke me about this. They say, you know what, Suman, whenever I go to mall and ask for a restroom, the classic example is, the sighted person points and says, it's over there. Oh, well, that doesn't help me, Suman. You don't do that.
Yeah, like I said, Ed and I were both blown away by the video. Now, I was trying to understand fully how it works. Is this something, I know there's going to be an app for your smartphone. Is it something that will work over your cellular connection? Do you have to be connected to Wi-Fi? How will it work?
Sure. I will tell you how it works right now, and I will tell you kind of where we are headed to with the smart glasses itself. So right now we rely on Google Glass as our smart glass platform. We do have our application actually ported to some other smart glass. And your smart glass is tethered with your iPhone or Android. And your iPhone or Android will have our Aira application. So in a sense, your Aira app on your phone is your control for both your glasses as well as your phone. They are pretty much married to each other. It's like the concept of Internet of Things or IoT. It's like your iCloud account. When you get your phone, right, you can receive the phone on your computer or on your cell phone. So it's pretty much the same concept. Both your glass as well as on your phone are always in sync. And whenever, let's say, the user, is walking down and they need some assistance, they pull up the phone and open up the Aira app and press the button that will connect to the agent. And we are targeting less than 5 seconds. So that means somebody will say, hey, how can I assist you? In less than 5 seconds once they request it. And the video will be streamed, the GPS location will be updated, the user profile will be updated. We are targeting it to be much more personalized experience. So we kind of know the user preferences, the user profile, and the personality, and the preferences such as if they are using guide dog or white cane, or things such as what kind of food they like in the restaurant.
Yeah. Well, yes, and that was something in your video which I found very fascinating. So you had the assistant who was helping the person in the video who was blind find a restaurant where he was going to meet a friend, and based on his profile, she actually looked up the menu in the restaurant and made some recommendations for him for his meals. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, just to build on top of that, there are a lot of concepts about, okay, yeah, sure, I'm seeing what the blind person is seeing, but the dashboard concept just goes beyond just the video piece of it. The concept of contextual awareness is really, really powerful. Let's say the blind person walks into a restaurant, as you said, we pull up the menu from Yelp automatically. Now, let's say if the blind person is walking to a grocery store and they want to shop, a can of soup, and they would want to know what are the ingredients, right? You can do one of two things. You can try to OCR the heck out of it, which is small fonts, which is not so efficient, or we can actually scan the barcode and fetch the details from Amazon, and that's what we do. And kind of we have the information online that comes onto the dashboard.
We know that this hasn't yet to even hit beta, so things could be changing. But as of now, is it over cellular where you're making the connection, I assume?
Yes. So right now it is using cellular, and you may be curious. Oh, now we got to use the data. So the video is very much optimized for the real-time video streaming. Unlike your Netflix where you have HD video quality and where latency is acceptable. No, we don't need HD video quality. We are talking about information that is real time. So, if somebody is curious about how much data, we are talking about 1 or 2 Netflix movies on a monthly basis. So it's around 1 gigs or 2 gigs, and that's how optimized it is.
I'm not worried about that at all because I've been trying to figure out for years why I've been paying for my grandfathered in unlimited data. Now I know. Now I know why I've kept that package.
Yeah. So also from what I saw there, Suman, I guess you're also receiving from the smartphone device real-time GPS coordinates. So I noticed that the assistant is actually tracking the movement, so she knows, or he would know exactly where you are.
Yes, and they know exactly where you are. But I will extend that concept beyond GPS, which is sensors. On the wearable device, there is a lot of sensors. And the things that interest us are accelerometer, magnetometer, and so forth. Why is that important? Because, we calculate the distance on the dashboard for the nearest waypoint that the user is interested in. So, let's say if you're looking for a trash can, right? We know on to your left, 10 feet ahead is your trash can. And things like magnetometer, walking down the straight path is one thing, which is the bearing. But where the user is looking at, is it looking left or looking right? To orient them properly for anything is information from magnetometer. So the sensor information is really, really crucial, and that's the concept of, again, sort of augmenting the data on the dashboard.
It's funny that you mentioned looking for a trash can, because I was in Los Angeles and I have a guide dog, and he did his business and couldn't find a trash can anywhere, and my buddy drove from the hotel. He drove 1.5 miles before he found a trash can. So that might be a long walk to find. Fortunately, I was at a hotel. They let me just drop it off at the front desk. And we want our listeners to know that Aira is a tool, it sounds like. It's not going to replace your guide dogs or white cane, but even when you have a guide dog and white cane, at least I do when I'm in New York City, I still need to ask people which door is the right door to the store. So this is a tool to aid you further, and at least it'll stop me from yelling out in New York City, excuse me, trying to get a sighted person to help me find the door. What about safety concerns, though? What kind of safety concerns have you looked into for people that are using Aira?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, and it's probably one of the most debatable topics that we end up having with our advisors as well as with our users. One example I can think of is the intersection, right? So what happens at the intersection? Now, as you said, Brian, we are definitely not here to replace guide dog or a white cane. But one thing we do have is lots of information. So when we did our beta trials here in San Diego, one thing we found is the users still want the information about how the intersection is laid out, especially if there is a new intersection they are dealing with. For example, how many lanes it has? Does it has any median? Is there a step up? So, and those kinds of details will actually help judge, how to cross the intersection. So, we came up with a standard mechanism on how to provide that information at the intersection, and we are still in the process of making it even better. So here is how it happens. A user is approaching the intersection. Go, hey, you are approaching the intersection of Genesee and Executive Square. The intersection is so and so many lanes, and they will give you a description of the intersection. And you are walking towards the north end of the intersection, and there seems to be a crossing signal onto your right hand side, right? So they press the crossing signal. We will not make decisions for the user. When let's say there is a green light, agent is allowed, it's okay, or we do mention, yeah, I do see a green light, please make your best judgment to cross the street, and then they will go ahead and cross the street. So it's a combination of how we provide the information and the standard mechanism. Ultimately, we see Aira as a service to provide information in real time. It's not there and empower the user, but it's not to make the decisions for the user. They will still have to rely on their orientation and mobility skills to, ensure they feel comfortable about it.
Right. So basically, it's a supplement to a skill set that you already have to be going out and doing the tasks that you're looking to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so one other example I can give you regarding safety is, yes, sure, we are relying on we let the user make the choices, and we empower the users use the information in their best possible way. But we also have, since we have the technology at hand, there are a lot of contingency scenarios we put in place. So meaning our agents have individual user emergency contact information. Our agents can press a button and get 911 dispatched and ordered directly to wherever the user was, because we know their location. We also are working towards an integration where a Uber driver actually arrives to the last best known previous location when we feel the situation is something incidental.
Sure.
Yeah, so those are all the contingent scenarios that are in place because we already have enough data. I will tell you one last thing, which is, yeah, sure, we have the glasses, but we also have the phone. So there are a lot of elements that we do rely on the phone as a backup. For example, if the glass dies, what happens? Oh shit, glass died, right? But it falls back onto your phone to get you to the nearest safest spot because there is a camera on the phone.
Yeah, no, and like I said, the possibilities are endless. I'm sure it's stuff, once you get people actually beta testing it, that will develop even further. I'm looking forward to testing these out, and I think I mentioned to Suman that I also work as a stand-up comedian, so boy, it would be great to do crowd work and see people and what's that person look like and everything, and I always do it off of what I hear and everything. So who knows? Maybe one day down the road I'll be getting to actually see, thanks to this technology, what some of the people in the crowd look like. But now, like any technologies, there's a lot of exciting technologies on the horizon for blind and visually impaired people. But some of them are unbelievably expensive. Have you guys come up with a cost model yet on what the glasses would cost, what the information packages would cost, or is that something that will be determined down the road?
I can definitely talk to it, and I will also tell you what are some of the caveats. But Brian, before I address that, I do want to mention that we were actually doing lots of beta trials in Southern California. So we did around 2,000 trials, and in fact, we have users using it on a day-to-day basis now. Along with we opened up registrations recently at our National Federation of the Blind convention. So we are actually getting the users to sign up so that we can roll out the service later this year. So I just wanted to say that out loud.
So I imagine that you're looking at probably some kind of a subscription service. Would that be correct?
That is correct. So going back to the question that Brian asked, it will be a subscription model. It will be a monthly subscription model, and for our self subscription model, it will range anywhere from on the low end low tens, on the high end low hundreds. So on the higher end, the users will be connected to our trained and certified agents, and they use the Google glasses. And on the low end, they will be connected to their family and friends using their mobile phone, and the dashboard pretty much is for free. Now the caveat is the family and friends as agents still have to go through our training and certification process just for ensuring the quality of service is still top notch.
That's not good for me because my family, I'm pretty sure, wants to kill me. So I'll be
cross the street now, Brian.
Out of the way, you blind fool!
What about the glasses? Is that something that the individual will get on their own, or will you guys provide?
Yeah, I should have mentioned that glasses are part of the subscription, so there is no additional cost or anything. The reason is we want to keep the subscription super simple. Rather than, buy the glasses. Now it's time to upgrade. Now it's time to switch the glasses and so forth. We want to just make it part of the subscription itself.
No, it sounds unbelievably affordable, even on the low end all the way up to the high end.
Yeah. And, we are defining, think about it as your Verizon or AT&T or Sprint, whatsoever model, right? You have your, you pay probably $70-$80 whatsoever, and then you get 5 gigs or 10 gigs of data. And for any additional data, you would likely buy some additional data that is required. So we will likely be going after the same model. Not likely, it's highly likely that we'll be going after the same model where individual user will have certain good chunk of minutes that they can go after on a monthly basis, and if they feel they need more, they can purchase more. That's how it's gonna look.
Yeah, and I know you could sign up on your website now to be part of, I guess, the beta when it expands. Will that be rolling out this year, or do you not have a target idea yet?
No, we do have a target idea. So the sign up process that you're mentioning, we are called them Aira Explorers. Aira Explorers is our first 200 users, and we are seeking explorers who are actually really vested interest in making this product happen. I always tell to my friends, and my friends as in everybody I talk to, and blind friends, that Aira Explorer program is not about making the business, it's about making the product. The product works 95 to 99% of the cases, but there are still some edgy scenarios, 1% it will fail. So we are seeking explorers who want the service, who are paying for the service at a discounted rate, but at the same time who are open for failures and who are willing to spend 15 to 20 minutes of their time on a monthly basis or a bi-weekly basis to provide that feedback to ensure we push that quality and stability and robustness from that 90% to 100%.
And you still have openings for this 200? I'm hoping to sign up this week. Aira.io/explorer. I can spell it out. It's AIRA.io. And there is no .com or .org. It's Aira.io/explorer. Yeah, so one thing, we only started this at the NFB convention, and we are relying purely on word of mouth. Didn't want to do marketing. And the reason is basically creating that community of explorer who are going to support the company, the product, take it to the next level. And when they enter their entry, we seek $99 commitment deposit for the explorer. And there will be a follow-up in terms of seeking some questions, and we will be picking and choosing the first 200 explorers. Yeah, no, it's very, very exciting. I'm sold. I'm hoping to sign up again this week. And why don't you tell the listeners though where they can learn a little bit more about Aira, and I know you're on some of the social networks. How, if they have any questions, they could get in touch with you as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the best way is Aira.io. I can spell it out. It's AIRA.io. And, there is a contact page. You can definitely drop us a note. Or there is a phone number as well that will directly ring up to our office. I will pick up the phone. But the Explorer link itself is /Explorer.
Very good. And what we'll do also, Suman, is I will put those links into the show when we release it as well, so people will be able to get that as well.
One last question, Suman. This is like I said. Ever since I first learned about this, I've been just very impressed and very interested. How did this project come to you? What was your inspiration for moving forward with this kind of project?
Yeah, sure. It goes back like 2 years ago. Our company started only 1.5 years ago, but I started working on this almost 2.5 years now. So it was an idea. It was an idea when the Google Glass Explorer page came out. But at the same time, I do have a blind friend. His name is Matt Brock. He lives in Colorado, Denver. And at the same time, I was doing my MBA, my final quarter of my MBA. So myself and my colleague, Yuja Chang, we talked to Matt Brock and said, hey, we have this idea. What do you think? Well, it sounds interesting. Let's try it out. Can I try it out? He's like, yeah, sure. Let us pull together some dirty prototypes. So we basically, did some dirty and like real dirty prototype. We had our dashboard, forget dashboard. We had that VLC player who was playing the real-time video coming from the Google Glass. Anyway, so we flew to Denver. We talked to Matt Brock, and we started describing things in front of him. He's like, oh, okay, that all sounds cool. Let me go to a shop close by. Is it okay? Like, yeah, sure. And then we started exploring things around him. and just telling him whatever is in front of him, left and right, and even in the grocery shop. Soon enough, he was like, Suma, I didn't know what to expect earlier, but this could likely be a game changer if it can be available as a service. So that was more of an idea and the ideation process that went through. But since I'm glad I was in my MBA at that time, because I took this project, this idea, and did my typical MBA business plan to see what is the market out there, what are the alternatives, what sort of existing apps there are, only to realize there are lots of point solutions, but we were thinking much more a comprehensive where somebody could rely on to get out the door and do things that may create like a lot of barriers otherwise. So that's the start. And I also want to mention one more thing, which is Larry Bock. So we were at this Foundation Fighting Blindness Dining in the Dark event, and this is before even the company was established. We got in touch with few folks here in San Diego, and one of the blind persons, Jaleel, he actually did a complete 5K vision walk using the glasses independently, basically by himself. So that picked up, and then we were invited at the Foundation Fighting Blindness event to showcase the product. And over there, we meet this fine, extraordinary gentleman. His name is Larry Bock. He is legally blind. And only to realize later on, he was a speaker at the event, and he also is an entrepreneur who created almost 37 companies with an aggregate market capital of $75 billion. So,
oh, wow.
So in fact, he's our investor. He's our executive chairman. He was our executive chairman. While in the process of building Aira, 12 months ago, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And I'm sad to actually mention he passed away 3 weeks ago. But he did the initial head start for the company, like the bootstrap. He's an entrepreneur. He knows things. So yeah, I mean, right now we are surrounded by such amazing people. We are backed by venture financing companies, Lux Capital and Arch. Actually based in New York. Lux Capital is based in New York, and even advisory boards such as we have Eric Wayne Mayer, who is the blind guy climbed Mount Everest. I'm sure you guys know.
Yes, yeah. Right. I'm familiar with Eric. Yes.
Yeah. So we met him, in the initial days, and he's supporting our vision. Christine Haas is the blind master chef. Michael Hinkson, the guy who survived the 9/11 incident, really funny guy. So yeah, I mean, we actually were pulled together not only like the technology geeks in the Silicon Valley and investors who are well known, but also brought in like a lot of user champions who shaped the vision and product to the state where we are today. I'm really excited to roll this out. I'm really pumped up.
Very impressive indeed.
Yeah, no, I'm very, like I said, I'm very excited. As soon as I heard this, and I think the phrase you use, which I would agree with 110%, is game changer, and I'm very excited to at least see what this is all about once you guys start moving forward with the Explorer program. But
yeah, absolutely. You asked about when is the launch, right? So we are planning to roll out starting September.
Okay, wow, that's next month. So,
yeah, exactly, and that's exactly a lot. People are still here, like closing out some bugs and moving things forward. So a lot of things are happening.
What's happening with the Google Glass as a product itself? I mean, I think Google they've discontinued supporting that, haven't they?
So we have vendor relationship with Google Glass. So we have a good supply of the glasses until we run out. But at the same time, we are not married to the Google Glass itself. And part of the reasons we started with Google Glass because that was readily available for the initial prototyping and all the trials that we did in the last year. It was great, but it's still not ideal. One, for the cost, and it has a heads-up display, which is pretty much useless for us, and it's 40% of the cost. So we are looking at alternative glasses such as Pivot Head, and also we have a company called CU glasses. And we are also working on our own wearable too. that I cannot talk too much about. But it's gonna make it much more effective with a cool aesthetic design that is targeted for, kind of for blind users. Yep.
Able to be more stylish. And one other question: do the glasses have an earpiece, or do you just use your earpiece from your your cell phone or whatever?
So right now, you would use any earpiece that you would normally use with your cell phone, including the Bluetooth phone connection headphones or head jack or whatsoever. But although in the future, the smart glasses I mentioned about will likely have the bone connection headphones built in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, it's like I said, this is tremendous, man. I definitely major market for this, and I don't know how anybody that doesn't have vision wouldn't be interested in something like this. It just sounds tremendous and everything. Well, it's an exciting time. Well, Suman, this has been an absolute treat for Ed and I, and we're going to be following up about this story, I'm sure, when things start rolling out sometime in September.
Absolutely, Brian. It was nice talking to you, and Ed, thank you.
Oh, Suman, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you so much for all the work you're doing for the blind community.
Yep.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Aira offers a personalized service for blind and low vision people to help them gain greater mobility, independence, efficiency, and self-assurance. Although Ben is completely blind, he has confidently learned how to navigate the streets of San Diego with the use of his cane. Though Ben manages quite well, there are certain unexpected situations where he can get into trouble. Fortunately, he's wearing his Aira smart glasses, and when he either senses that he's in a terrain he's unfamiliar with, or his cane tells him information that he still can't discern, he simply activates the glasses with his finger and instantly, Chloe, his Aira agent, sees what he's about to confront and tells him how to proceed. Chloe is a certified agent who is trained in aiding blind people whenever they tap their Aira smart glasses.
Hi, Ben. This is Chloe.
She has a mission control style dashboard where she can see what Ben is looking at, where he is located on Google Maps, and any potential obstructions in his pathway.
Hey, Chloe, it's nice to hear your voice.
It's good to hear your voice too, Ben. How can I help you?
I need some help in my directions. I'm meeting a friend of mine, Bob McCarthy, at La Hotta's restaurant for lunch, and my usual route is blocked. So could you help me get there on time?
Sure, Ben. But first, can you help me get situated so I can make sure you're in a safe spot? Can you look around so I can get a thorough view of your surroundings?
Since Chloe can now see exactly where Ben is by way of the video cameras in his smart glasses, she can help Ben orient himself on exactly what's going on around him.
You're actually pretty close. I think the fastest way to get there is by taking the MTS. You can jump on the train at the Little Italy station, which is on West Cedar Street, and take that to the Convention Center stop. So turn back around and walk towards Pacific Highway. And then I will be happy to give you some more information.
Okay, let's go for it.
You will hear a ringtone like this at 20 feet and 5 feet from the intersection. You're veering to the left. Please adjust yourself to 11 o'clock. There are boxes 10 feet ahead of you on your left. You are approaching a really busy four-way intersection. Pacific Highway is 4 lanes wide with two-way traffic. The crosswalk signal box is on the right-hand side about 2 feet from the intersection of the two curves. As soon as you cross onto Cedar Street, walk about 50 feet to the train stop. There is a bench for you if you want to rest. By the way, there's a signage on the train that is advertising Comic-Con, starting next weekend at the Convention Center.
That might be fun to go to.
You will take the green line to the Convention Center stop and get off.
While we're waiting, could you help me sort through my mail?
Sure, Ben. The first item is an offer to sign up for a new credit card at Citibank. The second is from your power company. They're letting you know that in 2 weeks there will be a tree trimming in your neighborhood. I can see that the green line is approaching. The entrance is about 6 feet from you at 2 o'clock. There is an open seat on the left.
Chloe can see Ben's progress on Google Maps on the screen.
The train is approaching your stop. You are on a north-south sidewalk. Turn right and walk 200 feet and take a left on 4th Avenue. The restaurant is a few minutes away.
Thanks, Chloe.
Chloe clicks on the social tab on Ben's profile and can see that he loves seafood. The agent dashboard then pops up a Yelp menu of the Las Hadas Cafe.
From your profile, Ben, I see that you love seafood. Las Hadas' signature dish is enchilada del mar wrapped in a handmade crepe with broiled lobster and shrimp.
Sounds delicious. Thank you, Chloe.
The restaurant entrance is at 10 o'clock. There's a hostess on the patio ready to greet you. Ben, I see Bob sitting outside at a table about 15 feet straight ahead.
Chloe is able to identify Bob because of his Facebook picture that appears on her dashboard.
Hey, Ben.
Bob, how are you?
Good to see you.
Okay, thank you, Chloe. I can take it from here.
Anytime, Ben. I'm just
One click away. At the end of each session, the user hears an Aira chime that signifies the session is completed. Ben was so pleased by Chloe's attentive service that he immediately tapped his Aira glasses and gave her a 5-star rating, and then continued having a great time with Bob.
You're listening to Brian and Ed on iAccessVO.
That was Suman from Aira, and Aira, I don't know if we mentioned it on the show, was artificial intelligence Ra, and the only thing I know about Ra is he was kind of a really bad guy in the movie Stargate. But now, Ed, we only got a month till football season, and I'm really excited. You know I love my season-long fantasy. But New York State just finally passed the law, and a lot of other states are quickly following suit, filing legislation that daily fantasy sports are coming back and will once again be legal in their states.
So what was the resolution to this issue? Are they going to be taxed?
Oh, yeah. You know that's what it was all about. I mean, this is the United States of America. As soon as they were, they basically created $1 billion industry overnight, and the government said, whoa, wait a minute. Why are we not making money off this? So I think they're putting some more regulations into effect. They're going to legislate it. They're going to tax it, and they're going to make it like the lottery. But once again, I think there were about 19 or 22 states that made daily fantasy illegal, and for the past year or so, you haven't been able to play. So I'm excited that they're coming back, but my concern is the two biggest ones, DraftKings and FanDuel, how accessible will the apps be, because their apps were getting worse and worse with accessibility when I was playing it. And my question to you, I guess, is do they, now that they're going to be controlled by the government, do they need to be accessible?
Well, I would think that they should be accessible anyway with any kind of legislation, but we'll see, and time will tell. I don't know.
Yeah.
Unlike you, I'm not the big fantasy sports player. I just don't have the time for it. But I know you love it. It's a big part of what you do in the fall, and whenever I'm with you in football season or baseball season, everything is going on. Your phone is always going off with somebody scoring somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, fantasy sports, I'll tell you right now, it is the world's greatest waste of time, but wow, is it fun. And I've always found it very ironic that I love fantasy sports, yet I hate reality TV. I mean, there's something weird about that.
Wow. Well, you know what you could do now, though, Brian? You could take all your sports apps, and you should put them in one folder and stick them in your dock so you have quick, easy access to them all.
The way you told me to stick them in my dock, it sounded dirty. I don't know. You just said it with such anger for some reason. I mean, what was up with stick it in your dock?
Hey, it's Friday night. I'm tired.
You are tired. You're surly.
Yeah, Yeah, normally we record this show like earlier on a Sunday early afternoon, and that's funny because you're usually groggy at that point, and I'm wide awake, and I think we've done an inverse split here. There you go.
It's like that Seinfeld episode, opposite world.
The Bizarro
world. I can't believe I got the Seinfeld reference wrong, but yeah, it's interesting. You were telling me because I mentioned to you I'd heard I think on another show or somebody talking about folders. And I've made use of folders for a long time. I mean, I do have a full sports screen, page 3, but I also have a sports folder because I have much more. What can you fit? Like 16 or 20 apps, and I've got folders for sports. I actually have a fantasy folder, which is just for fantasy sports. And
is Sandra Bullock in there?
Sandra Bullock is in my fantasy folder. She's on my mind all the time, 24/7, man.
There you go.
Yeah. So Sandra, if you're listening, email us into the show because I'll give you my real phone number.
Good luck with that, my friend.
Yeah, I'm sure Sandra Bullock is a big listener of the show, but hey, you never know. But maybe she has a blind relative. So anyway, though, I'd asked you. I learned that recently that you could actually have more than 4 apps in your dock if you were to create a folder on your homepage, put a bunch of apps in it, and move it into your dock. And you were telling me you used to do that on your 4S.
Yeah, I did it on the 4S a lot because it was just easier to access them, and I didn't have to be scrolling around to all the different pages. Because, by the time I retired, that 1942 4S that I had, I think I was up to 14 or 15 pages of apps. So, and that's with having multiple folders with multiple apps in them. Because when you teach this stuff, someone always wants to learn something new. So you go out and you download it so you can figure it out to teach it. And next thing I know, it was just a behemoth. It was a monster of.
And this is what show? Is this show 22?
Yes, it is.
Can I ask you a personal question?
You can. I could have Patrick edit it out if I don't like it.
That's true. That's true. How many pages of apps do you have
now?
Yeah.
I think I have 4.
Oh, lightweight. I'm up at 7, man. 7, and that's with all my folders and everything.
And you've only been at this since yesterday afternoon.
Well, you got to remember, I did. Once I got my iPhone unplugged from my computer, I got everything to come over from my last backup, which I did about 10 minutes before I got the new phone. So
yeah, I think the funny thing was when they gave you the new phone, the guy says, if you got a couple hours, we'll get everything ported over for you. Like, a couple of hours? I can't waste a couple of hours. Then you went home and you spent 14 hours doing it.
Yeah, but they were cutting into my fantasy football following time when I was at the store. At least at home, I'm in the comfort of the own home, and I've got my Mac going and everything. So yeah, no, it was
cool. So hey, I want to ask you a question. Have you checked out our new YouTube channel?
It's funny because I was giving you a hard time, kept doing a Google search. Where's our YouTube channel? Why is the YouTube channel not there? And now that you got it actually up and running, I've yet to check it out.
You got to be kidding me.
Dude, I download the show. I don't listen.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So we do have the YouTube channel going on. I still am working on getting the closed captioning up and running, which is the main reason we did put the YouTube channel together. So, the first attempt at trying to get the show ported over to the YouTube channel did not work. And when you kept asking me, I kept trying to tell you that it's actually a part of our Libsyn hosting service. It's an automatic service because they actually do the conversion from audio to a video format for YouTube. And then we had to wait for the next show to drop, for show 21, episode 21 to drop, and it worked. It was flawless. It worked really well. So now we get the closed captioning thing going. We'll be in good shape for our hearing impaired people who'd like to at least track the information that we share with everybody.
Yeah, no, and that's great. I was just, like I said, I did a YouTube search, a Google search for iAccessVO YouTube, and it was nice to see that we were the first result that came out. And, now that we've given you the email, we've given you the YouTube channel, which is iAccessVO. I'm going to give Ed a few seconds to find that phone number because we have not gotten any calls in a while, and we do want to hear from you. So, Ed, are you thumbing through your Rolodex, or do you have that phone number?
Well, funny you should ask, Brian, because I actually know the phone number now because the last episode I gave out the wrong phone number.
That could be why we didn't get any calls, Ed. You gave the phone number out to VO Access I, didn't you?
Something like that, yeah. And the funny thing was when I processed the audio and sent it over to Patrick for editing, I said, "Hey Patrick, I gave the wrong phone number. Please edit out the phone number segment." And I guess he missed it or forgot, and it went out on the show. So it happens. Sorry about that, guys.
Well, it's funny because nobody emailed us in though saying, "Hey, I called you and I never heard back, and you never talked about it." So
Well, that's because you gave out the wrong email address.
voaccessi@yahoo.com.
Yeah. So if anybody does want to call in, the phone number is 732-660-8641. So please call in, give us feedback. Try and limit it to 1 minute. And we'd like to air it. We'd like to put you on the show to get your voice and get your feedback. So thank you.
Unless, of course, your call sucks, then we're not going to put you on. But we like to think most of our listeners are entertaining and engaging, or have interesting questions to ask. And I talk about interesting, Ed. We had asked a few episodes ago for our listeners to go into the native podcast app and search for iAccessVO and then tap the review tab and leave us a review. And I was stunned that listeners actually did it, and I actually finally got around to reading those reviews. Guys, whoever wrote those reviews, I was blown away. They were fantastic reviews. Thanks so much for the nice comments. I mean, it's just great to get feedback and hear that people actually enjoy what we're doing here.
Oh, I thought your mom wrote those.
I didn't get. She was supposed to, but I never got around to. It's funny you say that. I said to my mom the other day. I said, "When was the last time you listened to a show?" And she says, "Well, I listened to one." I said, "One? There's been 21 of them."
Well, she stopped listening because she thought that guy Ed was picking on you too much.
I told you my family wants to kill me. So I'm the black sheep of the family.
There you go. So, but yeah, no, the reviews were great, and they were really awesome. It was nice to see all the different listeners we had that took the time to do it, and nice to get the 5-star reviews. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, thanks so much. And Ed, it's hard to believe, man, because it's now 22. Do you remember when you were 22 back in 1834?
Oh, God, it seems like yesterday, my friend. It was, I'm not going to say how long ago it was. On Friday nights like this, though, after working the whole week and commuting all week long, it's like, I'm tired.
And when you were 22, it was like, let's go out drinking.
I'm ready. I was ready to go out at 10, come home at 6, take a shower, and then go out and do something else.
Yeah, and I do have to follow up to the last show. Went and saw Guns N' Roses. Greatest concert of all time. Happy to report I did not lose any hearing.
Yes, you did not. And the
Wait,
other
what was
thing
that? What'd you say?
And Nash, actually, he survived your absence.
Well, we had a nightmare, but it took us 2.5 hours to get home from MetLife. By the way, kudos to MetLife. Greatest experience I ever had going to an event being disabled. They could not have gone further out of the way. Actually, saw us walking from the buses. They picked us up in a cart. They ended up letting us skip about 300 people in line to get on the bus. And it still took us 2.5 hours to get home. So my buddy, he came back to my apartment with me just to make sure Nash was okay. And boy, was Nash mad at me. He normally gives me a lick. He kept moving his head from side to side like a little kid and just would not give me those licks. But hey, sometimes you got to leave the dog home for his own good.
There you go. There you go. Well, I don't think he would have appreciated all that loud noise and the crowds as well. But it was good. You got to go out. You got to see your Guns N' Roses, and he got to have some Brian downtime.
I'm pretty convinced he had a doggy kegger party with all the dogs in the neighborhood over.
There you go. Yeah. That's Nash. Good deal. Good deal.
Well, it's getting late here on a Friday, so I'm going to tell you for now, we are out.
You have been listening to iAccessVO. If you'd like to contact us with ideas and suggestions for future podcasts, please email us at iAccessVO@gmail.com or visit our website at www.accessquest.org.